Well, good morning, everybody. And this is Dr. Betty with Elizabeth Fuchs. And we are here to talk about the impact that we're able to create for business owners and executives in your spaces. So, with no further ado, we're going to go right to Elizabeth. Elizabeth, tell us about something that you have done that is interesting and that has really made an impact in one of your clients.
Absolutely, Dr. Betty. So I'm Elizabeth Fuchs, and I will be talking about legal authority and enforceability and how important that is when you're dealing with cross-border transactions. Um, as you may know, the world doesn't revolve around the US necessarily in how we do business. From a legal infrastructure, from a jurisdictional infrastructure, it's all very different depending on where you're doing business. And what I've learned over the last 30 years of doing international banking is that it is very important to ensure that you hire the right professionals to ensure that the contracts that you are entering into are actually legally enforceable and that the individuals that are signing on those contracts have the legal authority to make that contract a valid contract. And every country has their own little nuance. For example, I was doing a acquisition loan for a German entity that was buying out some partners, local partners, so that they could gain full control of that subsidiary that they were trying to finalize. One of the issues that we found is that in order to ensure that the contract, the buyout contract was valid, it was that the authorized signer had to actually physically be in front of an attorney in Germany who would read out the entire contract for them before they were able to sign and make it enforceable. That was that was very interesting that we were like, oh, you have to physically be there and hear the attorney read out the contract because he is certifying and notarizing that you understand what you are signing. And that is something that was unique to that particular transaction. There was another transaction we did in Mexico, and this was for we were doing a funding for an infrastructure build out that they were doing for a large manufacturing plant. And in order for us to fund the Mexican subsidiary, we had specific notes that we had to put together and ensure that not only was the U.S. parent going to be liable for that note, we needed to ensure that that Mexican subsidiary who was receiving all of the funds had no fraudulent conveyance issues and that they were again authorized to enter into the contract. Well, in Mexico, there is something called a pagaré. It is a note that is translated into Spanish that is required in order for that note to be enforceable under Mexican law. So Mexico will say, sure, we will allow a US-based document to be enforceable so you can make things much more expedient and go straight into the US courts to make it enforceable. But you needed to understand that particular nuance, right? Then we had a transaction we were doing out of the UK. And this was for a multinational company that had subsidiaries all over the world. And we were doing a global facility with them. What we found out is that in the UK, the person who is authorized to sign had to be a local representative. Not only did they have to be a local representative, it had to be in front of a notary. And in this case, a notary is not the same as it is here in the US. A notary in different countries has to be an actual licensed attorney. And so they had to go ahead and have all of that notarized appropriately with a legal representative in country to make that document enforceable. So the lesson here really is when you are doing business around the world, make sure that you hire local legal counsel that is experts in the type of transaction you are entering into to ensure that the contracts that you are entering into are actually legally binding, enforceable, both in the US courts, whatever jurisdiction you're using to draft the documents, and in the local jurisdiction as well. So, those are my little tidbits of today, and I will take it back to you, Dr. Betty.
Wow, that is amazing. So, German. Germany, Mexico, and UK, and this goes all over the world because I can absolutely. Um, I remember doing a contract in South America when I was actually buying a property,
Hmm.
and I've bought several properties in Colombia in my lifetime, and always go to the notary. And I'm thinking, okay, the notary. And then I realized, wait a minute, it is the notary that holds birth certificates. It's the notary that holds all of the documentation. It's the notary. They are lawyers, and it is so different in each country as you begin to do business in each country. This advice is golden to anybody that is doing import, export, any kind of business that is outside of the United States of America, the contiguous United States of America. You go to Puerto Rico, it's a little bit different also.
Yeah,
And so you've got to be really careful. And when you're doing any kind of an import, export, I will also say be careful what banker you choose because a lot of the bankers will tell you, oh yeah, absolutely, because what they're looking for is the credit, or what they're looking for, they have a quota or whatever. You need someone that actually has the experience. And Elizabeth, I love that you are experienced. And not only that, you are sought out, sought after to really help clients. In what I have experienced of you is that the clients come back to you for advice. They come back to you and they continue to continuously follow you because of the advice that you have, and because it takes years of experience to gain this kind of experience. So thank you so much.
absolutely.
I'm going to talk a little bit different today, to business owners and to executives. I'm going to talk to you about yourself. Because one of the things that I've been doing as of the last couple of years is really delving deep into individuals' business. But in order for me to go into the individual's business, I begin by going into the individual himself or herself. And I want to talk about one particular instrument that I utilize that has really made an impact. And most recently, in the last 2 years, I have utilized the StrengthsFinders, which a lot of people know. And this is in a venue, or an instrument that I have utilized with every single team member for the last 20 years. I was certified by Gallup about 20 years ago. And I've taken it a step further. I don't just look at the top 5 strengths. And what it is it really takes a look at how you were wired, how you were hardwired. And in order for me to create a high performing team, which, knock on wood, I've been very blessed. All of my teams that I have ever led have been high performing teams and have created unprecedented, sustainable results. All of them have. One of the reasons is because of this instrument that I use, and it's a lot of different things, but this is the first thing I do when I come into a team. And today, as a consultant, this is the first thing that I do when people come to me. I test them so that I can really understand how they're wired. And what happens is sometimes you take the test a long time ago and you say, oh, I've already taken it. Well, your strengths are going to be changing, not changing, but you're going to lead with a different strength based
Hmm.
on where you are in your career. And so sometimes what I find is that the leader will have a strategic strength, but lead with strategic strength, but not the tactical strength. And then they have people around them that have the tactical and not necessarily the strategic. And so what happens is when we know the strengths, when we know how people are wired that are around us as our team, we are immediately bound and we can go deeper, faster when we're having the conversations. Stephen Covey Jr. wrote the book, The Speed of Trust. When trust goes up, then your productivity is going to go up because you're not worried about the minutia of why are they saying this to me? Are they
Hmm.
just looking to look good, or can I really trust them? The way to build trust is by increase the communication. When you increase the communication, you build trust. When you build trust, your productivity goes down because people are not second guessing why you say. They just take you. They say, hey, she said it. Elizabeth said to do this. I'm just going to do it. So immediately it gets executed. And you can have this waterfall effect where when the leader says something, people don't doubt them. There is no water cooler conversation. You don't waste days on water cooler conversation. You just execute. I have done this with over 3,000 leaders myself. And what I have found in every single circumstance is that the trust goes up, the productivity goes up. There is no doubt about who the people are and what they're coming to the table with. And it's just a fantastic way to do it. I have taken people who are also certified to help me with some of my clients. And what I have found is it's really the experience that brings forth. I mean, you always hear me talk about education, right? So education is good, but education plus experience is great. And
It's
so
golden.
I know it is golden. And so I've done this with couples. And what I have found, there was a couple 2 years ago that I did this with, and she was saying, "Oh my gosh, we just had this brand new baby, and he's not understanding that he really needs to read all this stuff." Well, she had learner in her top 5 strengths, and he didn't, but he had strategic. So he was like, "Just give me the notes, just give me the bullet points." And he didn't want to read the whole book. And she was like, he doesn't want to read. He's not a good enough father. He doesn't want to care about this. And so it's really important to do this. I've done this with 100% of my teams, and 100% of my teams have become high performing,
Yeah.
sustainable teams. 100% of them. And
I agree, Dr. Betty. I've also used strength finders in my team building exercises, and it also helps you build an incredible culture within your team and a
yeah,
team culture where
yeah,
you're really trusting each other's strengths in order to get to the solution fast and elevate the entire team. So it's an incredible, powerful tool when you understand your how to leverage your team,
yeah,
how to make sure that if you're dealing with this type of problem and you have expertise within the team that can help you solve it, you
yeah.
grab that expertise and you build the execution team that's going to help you get to your end goal as fast as possible. So
Absolutely.
it's an incredibly powerful tool. And your point around your strengths are your strengths and they evolve in terms of in what order they come in into within your career. That was a big aha for me personally. Because well, I mean, I took Strengths Finders many, many moons ago. And what I realized is that you're right. As you build experience around your career, some of those strengths starts shifting around in terms of how they show up for you. Because if you're a very tactical leader and you're an amazing tactical leader and executioner, as you do more of those executions, you start seeing a bigger picture trend, and then that strategic leadership starts building up. So
Yeah.
it's a very powerful tool and very useful when you're building team, when you're trying to execute on projects, when you're trying to build a team environment culture. It's very, very effective. So
Yeah,
that's a
very
great
much so. And something that I have found, and I'll leave you all with this, is what I have found is I will take an entrepreneur that owns a large company, say, I don't know, $100 million company, and the first question I ask them is, how's your marriage? How's your relationship with your children? How's your personal relationship? And they're like, what does that have to do with the sustainability of my business? And I say, it has all to do with the sustainability of my business, of your business, because when we are preoccupied with things in the house, then we are not able to really focus with things at work. And if we're not able to focus on things at work, this is why we have a holistic approach to every time we take on a client, we take a look at all of the client, and then the client decides what is it that we want to focus on, but the numbers always do the talking. And so that is always so, so important. So Anyway, so that's it for now. Thank you all so much for being with us. Elizabeth, thank you so much. Acquisition for partners is so important when we take a look at the geographical location of where you're doing either acquisitions or you're doing some importing or exporting. And in today's world, it's a lot more important to really understand the nuances of every country because our world has become just pretty much flat. But just the fact that you can access them, that doesn't mean that you understand them. So it's really important
That's right. And
to,
you have to make sure you grab the professional that really has the expertise in the industry and the type of contract that you're embedded in.
yes,
Hiring a real estate attorney in Colombia to do an import contract for you is not going to be very helpful because there
no,
are nuances that just they will know the book case, the academic piece of it, but they don't know the actual practicality of of implementing that. So
exactly.
definitely look for the professionals specific to the types of contracts you're entering into in the local jurisdictions that you are doing the contracts with whomever your
Absolutely.
clients are. Mhm.
And when you're looking at your business, take a look at a holistic approach to you as well as your employees. If when you don't invest the time and the energy in your employees, then they see that. It's your actions that are going to really take a look at, that are going to be telling your employees what you really care about. And if you really care about building a high performing team, then you've got to be able to really invest in your team. All right. Thanks, everybody. And we will be back next week.